Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Rama Radha Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Baba Giri Vardhani
Gopi Jana
Jai Gopi Jana Baba Giri Vardhani
Gopi Jana Baba
Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana
Yasoda Nandana
Yasoda Nanda Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jai Radha Radha Kanta Radha Radha Kanta Radhe Haribo Haribo Nitai Gora Haribo
Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo
Prabhupada Shiva Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shiva Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Gurudeva Gurudev Jai Jaya Gurudeva
Jai Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Jai Gurudev Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Taddo Jaya Mudiraya. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasa Dev, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavad, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed to practically nil, and thus loving service unto the glorious Lord, who is praised with transcendental hymns, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Purusha Shukta confirmed. Text number 32. Please repeat. Srijami Tan Niyudo Ham Srijami Tan Niyudo Ham Niyuktoham. Looked like an L, not a K to me looking at it. Here, it's a K. Haro Harati Tadvasa.
Haro Harati Tadvasa.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Paripati Trishakti Drip.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Okay. Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Haro Harti Tadvasaha.
Haro Harti Tadvasaha.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Haro Harti Tadvasaha.
Haro Harti Tadvasaha.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Haro Harti Tadvasaha.
Haro Harti Tadvasaha.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Paripati Trishakti Drik. Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Haro Harti Tadvishan.
Harati Tadvasaha.
I didn't quite finish that. Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Srijami Tanniyoktoham.
Srijami Tani Yuktoham.
Haro Harati Tadvasaha.
Haro
Harati Tadvasaha.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Vishvam Purusha Rupena.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Paripati Trishakti Drik.
Srijami Tani Yuktoham. Haro Harati Tadvasaha. Vishvam Purusharupena Paripati Trishakti Tre.
Anyone else?
I really like that last line. Paripati Trishakti Tre.
I like the second one. Harohati Taivasaha.
The whole verse is kind of just rolls.
Sujami.
Sujami.
Do create.
Do create.
Tat. By his. Niyuktaha. Appointment. Aham. I. Haraha. Lord Shiva. Harati. Destroy. Tatvasaha. Under his under his subordination. Vishvam. The whole universe. Purusha. The personality of Godhead. Rupena. By his eternal form. Paripati. Maintains. Sri Shakti Drik. The controller of the three energies. By his will, I create, Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself, in his eternal form, is the personality of Godhead. Maintains everything. He is the powerful controller of these three energies. Please repeat. By his will, I create. Lord Shiva destroys. And he himself, in his eternal form, is the personality of Godhead. Maintains everything. He is the powerful controller. Of these three energies. Srila Prabhupada's divine purport. The conception of one without a second is clearly confirmed here. The one is Lord Vasudeva, and only by his different energies and expansion or different manifestations, both in the material and in the spiritual worlds, maintained. And only by his different energies and expansions, or different manifestations, both in the material and the spiritual worlds, maintained. In the material world also, Lord Vasudeva is everything. It's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 19. Vasudeva Savamiti. Everything is Vasudeva only. In the Vedic hymns, also the same Vasudeva is held to be supreme. It is said in the Vedas, Vasudevat Paro Brahman Nachanyo Dato Stitatvataha. In fact, there is no greater truth than Vasudeva. And Lord Krishna affirms the same truth in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 7. Mata Prataram Nanyat. There is nothing above me, Lord Krishna. So, the conception of oneness is overly stressed by the impersonalist, is also accepted by the personalist devotee of the Lord. The difference is that the impersonalist denies personality in the ultimate issue. whereas the devotee gives more importance to the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam explains this truth in the verse under discussion. Lord Vasudeva is one without a second, but because he is all-powerful, he can expand himself as well as display his omnipotencies. The Lord is described here as omnipotent by three energies, three Shakti Drik. So primarily, his three energies are internal, marginal, and external. This external energy is also displayed in the three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Similarly, the internal potency is also displayed in three spiritual modes: Samvit, Sandini, and Aladini. The marginal potency of the living entities is also spiritual. Prakritim Vidime Param. But the living entities are never equal to the Lord. The Lord is Nirasta Samya Atisaya. 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 In other words, no one is greater than or equal to the Supreme Lord. So the living entities, including even such great personalities as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are all subordinate to the Lord. In the material world also, in his eternal form of Vishnu, he maintains and controls all the affairs of the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Shiva. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to the 32nd sloka of the 6th chapter, 2nd canto, Purusha Shukta confirmed. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shijami tani yuktoham haro harati tadvasaha vishvam purusha rupena paripati trishakti drit. By his will, I create, Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself, in his eternal form, is the personality of Godhead, maintains everything. He is the powerful controller of these three energies. Lord Brahma speaking, just as he speaks in his Samhita, glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, we have one of the greatest living entities in the universe. You could say the grandfather of everyone, the creator, the engineer of the universe, confirming in 100 verses that have survived of his Samhita, the Brahma Samhita, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here he is speaking to, is he speaking to Narada? Who is he speaking to?
He's speaking to Narada.
Yeah, speaking to his son, the exalted Narada Muni, again describing the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Of course, in this verse, he's speaking about Lord Vishnu, who is the maintainer of the material universes. Still, there's no difference. Krishna has 2 hands, Lord Vishnu has 4. But basically, they possess the same potency. Krishna does a few things that Lord Vishnu doesn't do, and he's surrounded by wonderful devotees, unlike even Vishnu has. So here, speaking to to Narada about the universe, he's describing that it's by his will, Vishnu's will, that I create and Lord Shiva destroys. And he himself, in his eternal form, as the personality of Godhead, maintains everything. He is the powerful controller of these three energies. So maintenance, creation, and destruction are all under the control of Lord Vishnu. But he performs these by his expansions and energies. Brahma is just an expansion from him, appearing in a dramatic way upon a lotus flower, the stem emanating from the navel of the great Govardhani Vishnu lying in the waters of the universe. And then, through Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma being possessed of the Rajasic guna, or the mode of passion for the purpose of creation, becomes angry, as Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita. While contemplating the object of the senses, one develops lust, and from lust, anger arises. So Brahma is contemplating creating this universe, and there's a certain lust or passion that comes from that. And when that is not fulfilled, then Krishna says, anger arises. So the first expansion that Brahma creates are four sons who refuse his order to procreate to help him. That's the duty of a son, to help the father. But he refuses, or they refuse to help their father. And Brahma becomes angry. He doesn't lash out at them. Instead, from his anger, between his eyebrows appears Lord Shiva. That's the pastime of the most unique expansion of Lord Shiva, who then takes control of the dark modes of nature. A very, very powerful tamasic guna. And these gunas compete constantly amongst themselves for controlling the universe. The mode of goodness, the mode of maintenance, and mode of passion, the mode of creation, and the mode of darkness is the mode of destruction. Always sort of at odds. Sometimes the mode of goodness is dominant, controls the modes of ignorance and passion, who remain subordinate. And sometimes it's passion that's dominant, and sometimes it's darkness that's dominant. And goodness and passion act subordinately. The great advantage as a human being is we can hear about Vishnu and Krishna through the wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam that Sukadeva Goswami perfectly narrated before Maharaj Parikshit, after hearing it from his father, Vyasadeva, the author. After compiling all the Vedic literature, this very same Narada comes to him to find him depressed, because he's not finding any pleasure after writing the Veda, dividing the original Veda into four, writing so much commentary in the form of Upanishads, and then putting it all into codes in the form of the Vedanta Sutra. And by that time he may have even compiled the Mahabharata, which is the great history of Bharatavarsha. So, but yet he's, because of his despondency, as we learned about in the first canto, his spiritual master comes and explains you got to put an emphasis just on devotional service, because the fools and rascals will never really figure it out. You know, they won't be able to see the conclusive essence of the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads and Mahabharata. They'll simply see fruitive activity. And, they'll want to enjoy in this world by engaging in karmakanda practices, trying to be happy. So you must put an emphasis on the pure devotees of the Lord and their relationship with the Lord and their execution of devotional service. And teach the world the science of devotional service. So then he does that, and it becomes the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the beautiful story of the personality of Godhead. Each canto being a point of meditation on the form of the Lord. First canto being the feet, on up all the way to the 10th canto, which takes the form of the lotus-like face of the Lord. 90 chapters, 10th canto, describing Sri Krishna's appearance, and how the Devas first go to Lord Vishnu on the ocean of milk and pray to him to come and save Mother Earth. And then he appears as Vishnu and becomes Krishna, and the whole drama of Krishna saving the world then takes place. So this Purusha Shuktis are prayers that are chanted not only by the Devas but by human beings. Many times right before the fire sacrifices, they'll chant Purusha Shukta prayers. We usually chant Mangala Sutra prayers, but it's quite common, especially at weddings, that the Purusha Shukta prayers are chanted. And it's describing all the different Devas and their relationship with Vishnu. Everyone works in relationship with Vishnu. So we have any comment or questions concerning this chapter and verse before we move on? In one sense, we're also utilizing these different energies of the Lord. Without any passion, it becomes hard to create new Talavana, from nothing to something. Of course, it begins with some land, but it's also like creating this society. It begins from nothing. There is no society. Then there's a society on paper. There's one storefront, and then it begins to expand. And so similarly, it expanded to a temple in New Orleans, which expanded to a farm here, which had just, 4 buildings on it and 200 acres of just pasture land. It did have a 5th building. It had a barn in the back where Rasaraj's house is. And because of the different modes of nature, there's not only goodness and passion, but there's also destruction. That barn blew up one day. Mm-hmm. It had tanks of diesel under it, and the land caught on fire and was burning, it burned underneath that barn and blew up the diesel drum and no longer was there. It was a pole barn, it wasn't a big barn, it was a pole barn. It blew it sky high.
Did the trees catch on fire?
I don't know if that was the same fire, but yeah, one time the trees caught on fire too, and was burning across the street in the land that was owned by Reverend. He's passed away now, but his wife still lives there. It's that first house after Shastra's house. Can't remember her name right now. Her son lives right across the street. Son doesn't like us very much. She's pretty private, you never see her, but the daughter's a very liberal lady who's an artist down in Florida, a painter. She's come here and taken beside him and she practices some yoga. Reverend Lee, he's a Lee. Reverend Lee. I think he used to preach at the Leetown Baptist Church. So, yeah, his trees were on fire and the fire department came on out. Not the fire department, but the forestry department. And maybe the volunteer fire department also. And then, you know, they, of course, they send me the bill. I don't think, you know, oh yeah, the volunteer fire department doesn't because we're paying for that through taxes. But the forestry department is funded by the state and perhaps federal government to some extent. So if they have to come out and do something, then they're going to send whoever created the fire a bill. And, you know, it happened to me one time too. So, you know, I had burning up some trash and forget who I left in charge. It was, you know, it was Parampara and somebody else. And it looked like it was under control, and they walked away. And the next thing I know, we hear the lady down in the guest trailer crying. It was her house at the time, Mother Sorby's. My trailer's going to burn up. And the fire was rushing down there, and it caught the back of the trailer on fire. And somehow ever we managed to put it out, and it ran off into the woods to the right. And it's real swampy down there. I mean, it was very swampy. So I didn't think there was any possibility that it would cross the wetland, but it crossed it and it just kept going. So eventually again comes the volunteer fire department because those woods will come up behind all those other houses on the inner road that goes down to Chichiketu's place, all the way down to the electric lines that are there. So the forestry department came on out with a bulldozer and, you know, they tried to put it out, and eventually they just gave up in the woods. And me and Parampara were out there also trying to put it out. And so what they did was they just went and stood at the tree line where the electric lines run, and they just stood there and they waited for the fire to come out of the woods and put it out. And the volunteer fire department, some people stayed up all night long just to make sure the fire didn't come on those houses that are along the road going to Chichiketu's. And then a week or so later, a couple of forestry department guys come in my office with guns and holsters on their side and sit down and have a talk with me and ask me how that fire started. So, you know, I explained to them, and so then they told me, well, we have about a $1,200 bill for you. That's, I think they charged me $75 an hour for the bulldozer. And I told them that, well, I don't have that much money right now, but I can pay you $100 a month with no interest. And they agreed to that, and, you know, so every month we would send to Jackson, Mississippi, a $100 check to pay them, you know, for coming and putting the fire out. So we have to be, you know, careful when burning.
Where was this exactly? Where was it? Where was it exactly?
Well, where the old burn pile was, it ran down the hill to the guest trailer and then caught the back of that guest trailer on fire. She called her insurance company and they came and repaired it.
The same place the guest trailer is now?
Same guest trailer.
The same guest trailer?
Same guest trailer.
I don't see any fire damage on that.
Well, the insurance company came out and fixed it. It kind of melted away the vinyl siding.
Really?
On the back of it, yeah, exposing the like plywood.
So you're saying back in those woods and behind that guest trailer, there's a swamp?
Yeah, it's very swampy.
How far back?
Unbeknown to most people, all the water from the kitchen and also from the washing machine runs a very long pipe on the other side of that pond that's back there and empties out into a, what appears to be like a creek. But there's no creek at that point. It begins right there, and when the water would run over from the dam, it would run over there. And that pond has a dam that blocks it, so the runoff point would be to run into this like channel that looks like a stream. But so this pipe comes out there and empties into there, and that runs, I don't know, I never really followed it all the way. It would run to probably into, I forget the name of the lady, Miss Bridget's land. She lives in Louisiana. I don't know if she's still living. She has a nephew that watches the land who lives in Picayune. And that's the land that would be like right behind where Krishna Shraya and them live. And it comes this way. And so that stream would be running through ultimately to their land. But it's wet, because there's always some water there. So I didn't think the fire would be able to cross that. I can't remember if it had been raining anytime soon. It was windy that day. Pundarik, it was Pundarik and Parampara was supposed to watch the fire. And, Pundarik wandered off. That's when he was just starting to manifest a lot of Parkinson's.
So this was after Katrina?
That I can't remember.
Yeah, it has to be, yeah. Because Parampara, I was here at the same time with Parampara, but then when I left, he stayed on for a while.
Yeah, it must have been after Katrina. But he would come intermittently at different times and spend as much as a week, doing different things.
Because he was going on the road to Sterling.
Yeah.
So that, let me understand this, that quote unquote swamp is, we contribute to it or we caused it?
No, we contribute to it. It's a low point. If you go behind that dam, on that pond, there's like a 10-foot drop almost.
Yeah.
Big drop. So, you have it's like really low wetlands. Probably lower than what is behind Mayapur's, which is also like that. But that kind of becomes high again as it runs into Mrs. Bridget's land, which actually, that's not Mrs. Bridget's land, that belongs to somebody else.
But that thing behind Mayapur looks like a sinkhole.
Yeah, it gets low, but then it comes back up as it touches the next neighbor's land, and also our land going into, where we have those mobile homes. So that doesn't keep going. I don't know how far this ever, you would have to look at a map and you can see these like the wetland branches that are generally in between pastures and residences, farmlands that people have. So it's the lowest point in the water running that way. The water on the Cowborn side of Anna Road runs into the Kalahula Creek, which runs into the Jordan River. And the water on the other side of Anna Road runs into the Hickory Creek, which also runs into the Jordan River. Now, the water on the ridge that separates Pearl River County from Hancock County, which is Bowie Road, right where Caesar's Grocery is. On the right, that water would go into different streams that ultimately run into the Pearl River. And on the other side, which is Hancock County, all the water runs into streams that runs into the Jordan River, which empties into the Bay of St. Louis.
Sounds like Vandana Ganesh's idea some of it might not be a bad idea.
Well, it's a good idea to make water reservoirs, nice big ones. They can be very attractive for building homes, and as well as if you ever need water. But it's very costly.
Yeah.
You're creating lakes, and it's going to demand state approval and state engineering, and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But
Not if not running into millions.
Was his lake that one of there were several, of course, but like say that area that you're saying is like a swamp or lowlands, would that be at the bottom of the lake then? If that was one of the places he was thinking about putting a lake?
Well, generally, a lot of times there's already a pond there,
So
where
that's
where they're dammed off
yeah.
a bottleneck. But there's a lot of lowland that's running to it, where the water would run into there, and they've dammed up part of it. So, but to make it bigger, you just come back further where your dam has to be much bigger. So, for example, what we call the Beaver Pond, over there off the Spears Road, it's a pretty primordial looking pond with some cypress trees sticking up in it. Mm-hmm. And there's a dam there that the beavers have constantly eaten out, so the water's always running off real easy and runs through those wetlands all behind Spears Road that separates out pastures, comes behind my daughter's and PC's places. So he was talking about damming that up.
Who's he?
Along the Ganesh,
Oh, okay.
permaculturist. Damming that up somewhere further back, which would create perhaps like almost a 50-acre lake.
Yeah.
The lake, or the big pond in front of the old Juanita place is 5 acres big. That's a 5-acre pond there. So, a 50-acre pond, I believe once it goes over 5 acres, they actually call it a small lake. And a lot of these lakes are man-made, like the one in Anchor Lake. There's a big pond a big dam that they manage, and you see them with water that runs off when it gets full. But they have that big Anchor Lake subdivision all around it, and also hidden lakes in Picayune. Is man-made lakes. It's like the Devas, and Lord Brahma, they have created all these Great Lakes and Ever Lakes.
So this Anchor Lake was made by like some businessman or U.S.
Some developers who created that subdivision and sold all the properties, yeah.
Well, that Hidden Lake one, unless there's some other one that they're talking about, the only lake I've seen is just a big pond.
Oh no, it's a big lake. You can't get in there without going through their, it's a private subdivision.
Well, I used to walk through there with my dogs.
Yeah, so they do have it's a pretty
pond.
big lake.
It's a big.
And then down Caesar.
If you drive around
really?
it's
Yeah.
a big.
It's big. And then down Caesar Road, there's White Cypress Lake,
Yeah.
which is a development that never prospered as much as Hidden Lakes in Picayune and Anchor Lake in Pearl River County. But that's also a big man-made lake.
But they have many other lakes also. They have smaller lakes also like that.
So we could also, create one, and it would serve the purpose of there always being water should we run into a drought or we run into
An
electrical problem, some kind, whether it be from, changes in the economy and stuff like that. But otherwise, it would serve the purpose of a place for constructing beautiful residences.
Well, it just seems to me that, swampland, I'm sure there's some ecological value to it, but...
You'd have to get permission from the federal government and state because you're dealing with the
But
wetlands.
if you turn that into a
The
lake...
EPA would be very concerned about it. And you just can't do these things. But I don't, developers are people with lots of money, and so they go through the states, and the states deal with the EPA as well. And sometimes they get turned down, but that, a lot of times they're successful in being able to take some wetlands and make it into a development.
Yeah, it seems like it's a better use of the land.
Well, that, the bureaucrats, make their decisions based upon,
Profit.
well, based upon that as well as what their scholars tell them concerning it all, and I dare to say, whatever bribes are passed around,
Yeah.
And so, we also are creating, like Brahma, and, there are times when we have to tear down old things and redo things, and we're constantly maintaining, under the potency of Vishnu. If it's not maintained, then, naturally it all falls apart.
There's that one pond across the street that's just down from, it's sort of like, you go down past the cow barn.
Yeah.
Where what's his name? Trailer is.
Jagdish Bansal.
Yeah, that's a real nice little pond back in there. And Jayanti told me that that's where the cows like to go a lot. They run off into that field there. There's a big open field where Nitai Gaur wanted to have a lifetime lease. It's sort of behind Jai Patni's and Jayanti's place. That's a nice area right there.
But there is also another pond near to the cow barn, just back of cow barn. Cow also goes there a lot.
Back towards that tree?
Mm-hmm. That's just a tree.
I don't know if it's still there, but the one that's off of Herbalist Drive where that other big nice oak tree is.
Yeah.
That's where the kids used to swim.
Yeah, it's still there. The cows use that one a lot too. We use these for the cows to drink. We don't have a lot of troughs for them to drink out. They drink out of the ponds. All right. In lieu of complete Bhagavatam, spoke a little bit about the Talavana.
That's Bhagavatam.
You have Surya, he's the civil engineer, right? You can, is that the kind of thing
Help
we would
us a
do?
little bit. So like a construction engineer, yeah, they're supposed to do things like that. Jagadish Bansal is a structural engineer, so he could, create structures. So his career was is designing boats and working engineering with boats. He worked for a big shipyard in New Orleans.
So what kind of engineer is?
Soroya is civil engineer, but they involved a lot in construction industry.
Well, that sounds like making cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, they say that when a doctor does something wrong, it's attributed to death. A lawyer does something wrong and it's attributed to something else. But when an engineer does something wrong, that's when a bridge falls apart, or like the building fell apart in New Orleans. That's who everybody goes to,
Well, that has to do with the quality of the construction materials.
Yeah, now if the engineer's design was proper and the construction people were cheating on the materials that they put there, then there's a real problem.
Yeah.